Everyone, this is Kat with Kinetic Entertainment Media, and today I want to just bring you some Naomi gameplay. So one of the really exciting things about both having access to the Raspberry Pi 4 and LR Flycast is that from what I've tested, like 99% of the Naomi library is playable and playing quite well, honestly. So you'll see a frame counter in the top right corner. I'm going to go through a couple of games that some I haven't played before, and I fell in love with as I was testing, and just a couple of classics. A lot of these are available on the Jester mode. A lot of these are available on like Dreamcast, like a lot of the same titles. You will be able to see something like a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 plays better in Naomi than it does on like even with LR Flycast like launching the Dreamcast ROM. So that's actually kind of exciting that you can get better performance with almost the exact same game. Well, not I mean the arcade version is better, but you could just kind of say, well, if I'm not getting the performance that I want out of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on Dreamcast, I can go play it over here in Naomi and have a better playing experience, which you can. This game is ridiculous. I actually really enjoy it. What happens when you pick up the puzzle piece? Come here. Yeah, the frame rate had started a little low when starting. So, and you'll see this in the video. Frame rates is going to go jump up and down. I haven't noticed even at low frame rates like 30 uh, playing experiences that are really bad. Virtual on the ROM for Naomi, that one feels sluggish. I mean that one definitely feels like it's not in a playable state. It is definitely better than MAME or any other way to play it, but I was not enjoying even how it kind of came out on the in the Naomi ROM. Oh, like what's this? Yeah, this is exactly like Die Hard. I think this is just like I don't know if a spiritual successor, but this is so similar to Die Hard. That bugged out for a second. Oh my god. Oh, it's because this model can lift stuff with her mind. So whenever she's lifting something, it's with her mind. So we have a floating fire extinguisher. I just want to go through the first boss battle here. Let's pick up this fish. Oh, he beat the costume off me. Oh, the fish despawned. Boo. Oh, that's a really cool game. Playing at full speed. Let's go to the next one. Let's launch Border Down. It's another game I hadn't played before. It was like a vertical shmup. Oh, border down. I guess that's what it means. It's not a whole lot of life. See, even though, you know, the frame counter is reading 40 frames a second, I'm really not. It's kind of cool. You get that, like, the CRT fuzz. So yeah, as I said, even though you know, it's only reading like 48. I guess it's reading 48 right now. I mean, I don't notice any tearing, any slowdown, any stuttering. Controls are responsive. So playing great. Let's check out what the next game we're gonna do. Let's do a little Capcom versus SNK. So Cap versus SNK is a game, at least on a 3, like on a Raspberry Pi 3. Didn't play very well in the Dreamcast emulator. A little too laggy, a little too much stuttering. But I think it is playing quite nicely on the combination of Naomi ROM and a Raspberry Pi 4. You'll have to exclude the gameplay. The controls are mapped correctly for recast, but they don't really map correctly for they don't map correctly for uh, Naomi. So like if you were to boot Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like the Dreamcast ROM with LR Flycast, everything would be mapped kind of correctly, but it's a little bit messed up for it's a little messed up for the Naomi versions. I'm sure just some tweaking with the I'm sure a little tweaking with the LR, you know, LR options would fix everything. I just haven't gotten into that yet. Yep, I'm playing full speed, 59 frames a second. So let's go ahead and go ChaosField. Yeah, let's launch ChaosField. So this is a shmup. Feels a little weird to me. Not gameplay wow, I just the design of the game. What I'm saying. Feels like the range of the guns, at least on this character, are very short. This is kind of cool that it gives you like a swipe. There's just so many bullets on the screen. But plays full speed. And a fan favorite, Canon Spike. One of the nice things about playing the Naomi version over a Dreamcast version is just kind of like not having to just unlimited coins. Just, if all you're looking to do is beat the game, not having to worry so much about resets and game overs. This game is one of those freaky deaky Japan only games that came out. It's a puzzle game, and it's interesting. I still don't get. I don't really like puzzle games most of the time, but this is an interesting one. I have no idea what menu options I'm selecting. It's because it's all in Japanese. So just hit the buttons until you get into the game. Some sort of like weird Rubik's Cube. No idea what this angel is telling me. I have no idea what I'm doing. Somehow, you're supposed to get rid of all the blocks. I did this before. And game over. Should be game. Let's see, which next one? Let's try Dead or Alive. Again, another game that has kind of brought Dreamcast emulators and the Raspberry Pi 3 to its knees. This doesn't take several minutes, but it does take 20 or so seconds. Essentially, it's going through the same like boot process that the game does on like physical cabinet hardware. I actually have a couple of Naomi's and have to go through this stuff too. One of the really cool things about Naomi's is that you can net boot to them. Another example, right? Like 32 frames a second, but I mean, it feels smooth, responsive. The character does what I tell it to do, based on inputs. both the Dead or Alive 2. I tested both Dead or Alive 2 and just um standard and Millennium Edition, and both worked pretty fine. Most of these are just they're the CHD files, so it is a lot of these games require CHD files. Interesting to note, a lot of these games are available in the main ROM set and can still. They're definitely playing better under the Naomi emulator specifically for these ROMs, because like booting Naomi games under LR MAME, it barely gets past the load screen, right? Like you would maybe be able to get it to show you that load screen, and it just kind of chunks up and stops there. So it's not very smooth. Definitely not this gaming experience when you're trying to get these games to run in like LR MAME. So the Naomi emulator is definitely the way to go. Not that LR MAME is bad. It's actually pretty good under it's actually pretty good under the Raspberry 4, but not for the Naomi stuff. Can't say this is my game. But it is playing extremely well. So I tested all of Guilty Gear, Guilty Gear X, Reloaded / Accent Core. Everything's running. I'm not going to test all 4 Guilty Gear games. I'm just going to do the 2. So I can show off just a few more interesting games. Let's see who we're going to pick this time. This one looks interesting. And there we go. Oh, the next game we're going to test is pretty cool. So obviously, I don't have a light gun hooked up. You can still kind of play it, but you can't change the perspective of where the gun is actually aiming. And I haven't tested personally the capabilities of libretro to define like analog inputs to axes in order to use like your analog gamepads to aim or anything to that effect. Actually, what I'm playing with right now is just an arcade stick, so I don't know if that's already there. And if I had my like 8-bit do hooked up, maybe I would have analog access. So just kind of played and tested this game, just shooting center straight. But all I really want to show is that House of the Dead plays without graphical artifacting, which is pretty prevalent in like the previous platforms. Maybe you shouldn't have been hanging out in the creepy graveyard then. Just saying. Typing the Dead also loads, but I don't have, and I haven't looked into. I have not looked into how to emulate a keyboard via libretro. And I don't know, I'm 50% that it's possible. If you know how to do it, I mean, comment, point me to an article or a help guide. I just haven't gotten up the energy to try. But I'm gonna look into it. If I find out anything, I'll make a follow up. Because there's a couple typing games on the Naomi. There was like a Lupin typing game. There's Typing of the Dead, probably the most interesting one. Maybe one other. Maybe one or two other. But there's a game that needs maracas. So I've always found Ikagura is played on like a 3, like on an overclock 3 for a good amount of time, but still felt a little bit of a slowdown and definitely not frame rates as high. It is very responsive via the Naomi emulator, and I'm very happy. It's a pleasure to play the game. It doesn't feel like it's running just a little bit slower than I want it to. It feels like the arcade experience here. yeah, Ikagura playing great. Let's go ahead and just go ahead and drop down to Melty Blood. Oh, and then we'll go back to MVC2. Game feels a lot like Guilty Gear to me. If that's the intent. Yeah. Another anime fighter. AI is not very good, at least not in the first level. Especially if this game was like based in Japanese arcades, because this wasn't really like a popular American game. But playing very well. Let's go for the big boy. So one thing I have to look up is how to unlock all the characters on a ROM. I think in the arcades, it's like after a certain amount of coins are put in. I have to double check that. Interesting. Psylocke's not available in the default, but I think she is in the Dreamcast version. That's fine. I'll live. Yeah. Game feels, and I mean, I own that game on arcade. Like I have the MVC2 arcade cabinet, and I just can't feel any specific slowdown or or lagging out. It feels to me just like the arcade experience. I actually want to capture from that from my Naomi and do kind of like a split screen, like a side by side. So try to do that in a future video. I think this is in the Rival Schools franchise in the same area. Feels a little bit like a Street Fighter EX. Obviously, you've got the 3D element to it. Guy fights like a wrestler. Ooh, baited. I don't like this character. Ooh, got me. Oh, Eddie Gordo there? Okay. What a weird character. That's like a mix between Charlie and Eddie Gordo, but without the capoeira. Hard to explain. Uh-oh. I might lose here. Oh, we got a projectile. Oh, what a comeback. Ooh. Coolio. Yeah, Project Justice is playing good. And then I think we just close it out with, I think this is Street Fighter 03. Maybe we'll play Spiker's Battle right after this. This isn't every game that works on the Naomi. Actually, a lot. I didn't do a count before I made the video, but most of the Naomi library has played under LR Flycast without issue or problems. Other than some of these games use like special devices, which are going to require a little bit of fiddling with your devices. There's quite a bit of light gun games on the Naomi platform, probably like 10 at least that I went through in testing. So, accounting for that, I think the library is still a lot of fun. There's some games I'd never played before. screen tearing on this ROM, especially toward the bottom. But the response and the input, all the like the input controls, everything is there. And I guess we'll just finish this out with what's this game? Spikers Battle, SP Spike Battle. It's kind of interesting. I hadn't played it before. I really hope this gives you like a not only a capability of what you can do with a Naomi library on a Pi 4, but what a Pi 4 in general can do. So I mean, what I've been throwing at it is relatively impressive, especially if you watch like some of the previous videos I did on N64, handling it very well. So low in this game, a little low on the frame rate. And for all that counts, feels just a bit slower than what you'd want. I mean, it is a 3D game. Sometimes it's really hard to tell since like I haven't played this one specifically on Naomi hardware. Maybe that's the speed that the game was meant to run at, but I don't know. It feels a little slow to me. I don't feel input lag per se, just a little sluggish. The audio is good. So yeah, so hope that was a good preview or concept of what the Naomi library can do for you. And if you want to check out the SPC Gaming Discord chat and have any questions or want to talk Rush Reply, feel free. I'll leave a link to the Discord chat in the channel. You guys have a great day.